Hey warriors, welcome back to the channel. You ever notice how every time you fight back, you end up more exhausted than your enemy? They provoke you, and you respond. They attack, and you defend. They challenge you, and you engage. And every single time, you think you're being strong. You think you're standing up for yourself. You think refusing to fight would make you weak. But here's what's actually happening. You're being controlled. Every time someone provokes you, and you respond, they're dictating your actions. Every time someone attacks and you fight back, they're choosing the battlefield. Every time someone threatens you, and you engage, they're forcing you to spend resources on their terms. You're not defending yourself, you're dancing to their rhythm. You're not in control, you're reactive, and reactive people are predictable. Predictable people are manageable. Manageable people are already defeated, they just don't know it yet. Here's what your enemies have figured out that you haven't. They don't need to defeat you directly, they just need to keep you fighting, keep you in constant battle mode, keep you exhausted from defending yourself, keep you visible and therefore vulnerable, keep you burning energy on conflicts that don't actually eliminate threats. And you're giving them exactly what they want, every single time. If you're starting to see how your compulsion to fight every battle is exactly the trap keeping you exhausted and creating more enemies, subscribe now, because what comes next is the framework for defeating enemies without ever entering visible combat, and it only works if you're willing to let go of reactive warfare. Because here's the trap. Direct confrontation is the lowest form of power. It's expensive, it's exhausting, it reveals your methods to everyone watching, and it creates more enemies than it eliminates. You think you're being strong by fighting back, but you're actually being manipulated into warfare that drains you while achieving nothing strategic. Your enemies don't care if they lose individual battles, they're winning the war by keeping you in perpetual combat, by making you predictable, by forcing you to expend resources while they position for the next attack. And while you're busy fighting the enemy in front of you, you're completely blind to the 10 positioning behind you who watched exactly how you fight and are now planning accordingly. And here's what destroys most people. They never learn the alternative. They think the only options are fight or surrender, attack or be attacked, confront or be conquered. But Machiavelli understood something that's been forgotten, something that separates people who are perpetually at war from people who achieve total dominance without ever entering visible combat. He understood that the greatest victories aren't won through fighting. They're won through strategic positioning that makes fighting unnecessary, through psychological warfare that makes enemies destroy themselves, through maneuvers so subtle that your enemies collapse and no one even realizes you were involved. This is the forgotten law, the one they don't teach you. The one that sounds like weakness until you understand it's the highest form of strength. Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. Never engage in open warfare when invisible victory is available. Never fight the battle your enemy wants you to fight when you can create a battlefield where they defeat themselves. Stay till the end, because I'm about to show you how to defeat every enemy you have without throwing a single visible punch, and why the moment you stop fighting is the moment you start actually winning. Let me show you exactly how the fight trap works. Someone challenges you. Could be professional, they question your competence publicly. Could be personal, they attack your character. Could be social, they undermine your reputation. And your immediate instinct is to fight back, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong, to show everyone watching that you're not weak. So you respond, you engage, you counter their attack with your own. And what happens? The conflict escalates. Now you're in open warfare. Everyone's watching. Everyone's taking sides. And regardless of who wins this particular battle, you've both lost something critical: resources, time, reputation, and strategic positioning. Because here's what you didn't see. The person who challenged you wasn't trying to defeat you in that moment. They were trying to get you to fight. That was the entire goal. Because the moment you engaged, you revealed your methods. You showed everyone how you respond under pressure. You demonstrated your weaknesses. You exposed your triggers. You made yourself predictable for the next person who wants to challenge you. And you burned energy and resources fighting a battle that, even if you won, doesn't actually eliminate the threat, because tomorrow someone else will challenge you using the same tactic, and you'll fight again and again until you're exhausted and they're not. This is the perpetual warfare trap. You think you're defending yourself, but you're actually training your enemies. Every fight you engage in is a teaching moment for everyone watching. They're learning what makes you react, what drains your resources, what strategies you use, what weaknesses you have. And smart enemies don't challenge you to win the fight. They challenge you to gather intelligence, to wear you down, to keep you in reaction mode, where you're not thinking strategically, you're just fighting to survive the current battle. And here's what makes this so destructive. Even when you win, you lose. You defeat one enemy openly, great. Now everyone who didn't like that person is grateful, until they realize you're someone who fights openly and therefore can be challenged. Everyone who was neutral is now aware of you as someone who engages in visible conflict, which makes you interesting to challenge. And everyone who was already your enemy now knows exactly how you fight and can plan accordingly. You think you won the battle, but you just multiplied your future battles. You think you demonstrated strength, but you demonstrated reactivity. You think you eliminated a threat, but you created 10 more. Machiavelli understood this. He wrote, "A wise prince should never be idle in peaceful times, but should industriously lay the foundations of power, so that in times of adversity he may be ready to resist his enemies." But notice what he didn't say. Fight every battle immediately and directly. He said, lay foundations, prepare positioning, create circumstances, so that when adversity comes, you don't need to fight. You've already won through preparation they never saw. This is the forgotten law. This is what separates reactive fighters from strategic dominators. Reactive fighters respond to every provocation. Strategic dominators create conditions where provocation becomes suicidal for enemies. Reactive fighters engage every challenge. Strategic dominators position themselves so challenging them guarantees the challenger's destruction, without the strategist ever throwing a punch. Reactive fighters defend themselves constantly. Strategic dominators make themselves unattackable through positioning, reputation, and strategic relationships that make attacking them too costly for anyone to attempt. Now let me show you the first principle of defeating enemies without fighting. Make yourself too costly to attack. Most people think power comes from being able to win fights. Wrong. Power comes from making fights too expensive for anyone to start. You do this through strategic positioning, not through visible strength. Let me show you how. You don't demonstrate your ability to fight. You demonstrate the consequences of fighting you. This is completely different. Fighting ability is what you can do in direct combat. Consequences are what happens to people who attack you, regardless of whether you personally fight them. Smart strategists build consequence architecture. They create systems where attacking them triggers automatic, devastating costs that have nothing to do with their personal combat ability. Example: someone in your industry wants to challenge you professionally, undermine your reputation, take your clients, position themselves as your replacement. You would fight back directly, defend your reputation publicly, counter their moves with aggressive business tactics, engage in visible warfare. But watch what happens. You're both now in open conflict. Resources are being spent on both sides. Clients are watching the chaos and maybe choosing neither of you. Your focus is divided between running your business and fighting this person. And even if you win, you've shown everyone else that challenging you creates interesting drama, which makes you a target for the next ambitious person. You operates differently. You don't fight them directly. You've already positioned yourself so that challenging you is suicidal. How? You have strategic relationships with the key decision makers in your industry. Not because you're political, because you've been providing value to them for years. You have a reputation built on consistent results, not dramatic victories. You have clients who are loyal, not because you fought for them, but because you've made yourself indispensable through value delivery. So when someone challenges you, you don't need to fight. The system you've built does the fighting for you. The person who challenges you discovers that the clients they thought they could take are actually locked in through contracts you created years ago. The decision makers they thought would listen to them already have relationships with you that are more valuable than anything the challenger can offer. The reputation they thought they could undermine is built on documented results that can't be disputed. And suddenly, their challenge isn't a fight against you, it's a fight against the system you've built. And systems don't get tired. Systems don't get emotional. Systems just execute. And the challenger realizes too late that attacking you wasn't attacking a person, it was attacking an infrastructure they can't defeat. You never entered the fight. You never responded publicly. You never engaged in visible warfare. But you won, decisively, permanently, because you'd already won years ago when you built positioning that makes challenging you too costly for anyone rational to attempt. That's defeating an enemy without fighting. That's strategic dominance. Second principle, let enemies destroy themselves through their own aggression. Most people think you need to defeat enemies actively. Wrong. Most enemies will defeat themselves if you just give them enough rope. They're aggressive because they're desperate. They're attacking because they're weak. They're trying to take you down because building themselves up is too hard. And desperate, weak people make mistakes. Your job isn't to fight them, it's to create conditions where their own aggression becomes the weapon that destroys them. Here's how this works. Someone attacks you. Instead of fighting back, you create space. You let them exhaust themselves attacking a target that doesn't engage. Every attack they make that you don't respond to makes them look more unhinged. Every provocation you ignore makes them escalate to get a reaction. And escalation is where they make mistakes. They overreach. They attack the wrong people. They reveal their desperation. They burn their own credibility trying to get you to fight. And everyone watching sees what you see, someone flailing against someone who's unbothered. Let me give you a specific scenario. Someone starts spreading rumors about you, attacking your character, trying to damage your reputation. You would fight back, defend yourself publicly, expose their lies, engage in reputation warfare. But watch what that does. It legitimizes their attack. It shows you're bothered. It makes the conflict visible to people who didn't even know it existed. And it gives the attacker exactly what they wanted. Your attention, your energy, your reaction. New you does nothing. Publicly, privately, you make sure the people who matter, the people whose opinions actually affect your life, know the truth. But publicly, silence. And watch what happens. The attacker keeps attacking. They escalate because silence isn't satisfying. They make bigger claims, more dramatic accusations. They pull in other people trying to create a coalition against you. And with each escalation, they reveal more about themselves. They show their desperation. They demonstrate their irrationality. They burn credibility with everyone watching. And you just keep doing whatever made you successful in the first place. You keep showing through your actions that their words have no basis in reality. You let the contrast between their words and your actions do the defending for you. And here's what happens. The attacker defeats themselves. They've spent so much energy attacking you that they've neglected their own position. They've made themselves look so unhinged that people distance themselves. They've burned so many bridges trying to hurt you that they've isolated themselves. And you never threw a punch. You just created the space for them to destroy themselves through their own aggression. That's psychological warfare. That's defeating an enemy without fighting. Third principle, render enemies irrelevant through strategic positioning. Sometimes the best way to defeat an enemy isn't to destroy them, it's to make them so irrelevant that they might as well not exist. You do this by building something they can't compete with, creating value they can't match, or positioning yourself in a space where they simply don't matter anymore. This is invisible victory, because from the outside, nothing dramatic happened. But from the inside, you've completely neutralized a threat without ever acknowledging it existed. Example: you have a competitor who's trying to take your market share. They're undercutting your prices, they're copying your strategies, they're trying to position themselves as the better alternative. You would fight them directly, match their prices, counter their strategies, engage in competitive warfare. But that's a race to the bottom. You're both burning resources trying to outdo each other, and the only winners are the customers watching two desperate businesses compete for scraps. New You takes a different approach. You don't fight them in their game. You change the game entirely. You innovate in a direction they can't follow. You create value that can't be commoditized. You build relationships they can't access. You position yourself at a level where they're no longer your competition. They're competing for the customers you've already outgrown. And suddenly, their entire strategy becomes irrelevant. They're still trying to compete with you, but you're not even playing that game anymore. You've moved to a different level, and they're left fighting shadows while you're building something they can't reach. You didn't destroy them, you didn't engage them, you didn't fight them, you just made them irrelevant through strategic positioning. And irrelevant enemies aren't enemies, they're background noise. That's victory without warfare. That's strategic dominance through positioning. If this framework is changing how you think about conflict, if you're seeing that direct combat is almost always the wrong move, hit that like button. It tells me you're understanding the strategic game, and it pushes this to others who are still exhausting themselves fighting battles that create more enemies than they eliminate. Fourth principle: control the narrative without engaging the conflict. Most people think you need to defend your reputation by fighting for it. Wrong. You defend your reputation by controlling the narrative through actions, not words. You let your results speak. You let your behavior demonstrate what's true. You let the people who matter see who you actually are, through consistent demonstration, not through defensive arguments. And when enemies attack your reputation, you don't fight the attack, you render it irrelevant through undeniable proof that contradicts it. Here's how this works. Someone accuses you of something: incompetence, dishonesty, weakness, whatever. Their goal is to get you to defend yourself. Because defense looks like guilt, explanation looks like justification, counterattack looks like desperation. They want you to engage, because engagement validates the attack as something worth responding to. Smart strategists don't engage, they demonstrate. Let me show you the difference. Someone says you're incompetent. You would defend yourself, list your accomplishments, argue about why they're wrong, provide evidence of your competence, and every word you say in defense makes you look more defensive. Every argument you make sounds like justification. Every piece of evidence you provide gets picked apart. You're fighting on ground they chose, and you can't win because the accusation is now the story. New You doesn't defend, doesn't argue, doesn't engage the accusation at all. You just keep producing excellent results. You keep delivering value. You keep demonstrating competence through actions so undeniable that the accusation becomes laughable to anyone paying attention. You control the narrative not through words, but through reality. And reality is harder to argue with than words. You let the contrast between their words and your results do the talking. And everyone watching sees what you see: someone making accusations that reality contradicts. This is narrative control without engagement. You're not fighting them, you're making them irrelevant. Their words become noise, your actions become truth. And truth doesn't need defense, it just needs demonstration. That's defeating an enemy without fighting. That's making attacks useless through strategic demonstration. Fifth principle: use time as a weapon. Most people think conflicts need to be resolved immediately. They feel pressure to respond now, fight now, win now. but that urgency is usually manufactured by the enemy to force you into reactive mode. Smart strategists understand that time is a weapon, and often the best response to an attack is to do nothing and let time reveal who's actually strong and who's just making noise. Here's why time destroys reactive enemies. They're operating from desperation. They attacked you because they needed a quick win. They need to defeat you now because waiting doesn't serve them. They're hoping you'll engage immediately because immediate conflict is where they have advantage. They've prepared for it. They've chosen the timing. They've set the conditions. But if you don't engage, if you just let time pass, their desperation becomes more obvious. Their preparation becomes wasted. Their momentum dies, and you haven't spent any resources. Example: someone challenges you publicly, demands a response, tries to create urgency around the conflict. Address this now, or you're admitting guilt. Respond immediately, or everyone will think I'm right. They're manufacturing time pressure to force you into reactive mode. Old you would feel that pressure and respond. New you recognizes the manipulation and does nothing, publicly, and watch what happens. Days pass, the challenger is still demanding a response, but you're just living your life, working, producing, creating value. And slowly, the audience starts noticing something. The challenger seems increasingly desperate for your attention. You seem increasingly unbothered by their existence. The challenge that seemed urgent last week seems petty this week, and by next month, it's forgotten by everyone except the challenger, who's still fuming that you never gave them the fight they wanted. You defeated them with time. You let their urgency expire. You let their manufactured crisis become irrelevant through patience. And you never fought. You never defended. You never engaged. You just let time do what time does, reveal who's actually strong and who's performing strength. That's using time as a weapon. That's defeating an enemy without fighting. Sixth principle: make fighting you politically costly. This is advanced positioning. You defeat enemies by creating a political environment where attacking you doesn't just risk failure, it risks the attacker's relationships with people they need. You position yourself as connected to, valuable to, or protected by people whose favor the attacker can't afford to lose. So attacking you means attacking someone they're not prepared to antagonize. This isn't about having powerful friends who'll fight for you. This is about strategic relationship architecture, where your position in the network makes you untouchable, not because you're strong, but because attacking you creates cascading political costs the attacker can't manage. Let me show you how this works. You identify the people who matter in your ecosystem, the decision makers, the influencers, the power brokers, and you make yourself valuable to them, not through politics or manipulation, through genuine value delivery. You solve their problems, you make their lives easier, you provide expertise they need, you become someone they rely on, and you do this consistently over time until your position in their network is structural, not personal. Now someone wants to attack you, but they discover something. You're not isolated, you're connected, and not just connected, you're valuable to people they need relationships with. Attacking you means potentially damaging their relationship with someone who matters. And most attackers aren't willing to pay that price. So they don't attack, or they attack so carefully and diplomatically that it's not really an attack at all. You've made yourself politically costly to challenge, and political cost is often a better defense than combat ability. This is why Machiavelli wrote about the importance of being valued by powerful people, not because powerful people will fight for you, but because being valued by them makes you too politically expensive to attack. You're defeating potential enemies before they even form, by positioning yourself as someone whose destruction would create problems for people with power. That's strategic positioning. That's defeating enemies without fighting. Seventh principle: create dilemmas where attacking you guarantees self-harm. This is the highest level of strategic warfare. You position yourself so that the act of attacking you automatically triggers consequences that harm the attacker more than they harm you. This isn't about counter-attacking. This is about setting up the board so that aggression against you is inherently self-destructive for anyone who attempts it. Here's an example from business. You have proprietary relationships with suppliers or clients. You've structured deals where breaking the relationship costs more than maintaining it. You've created contractual obligations that protect your position, so when a competitor tries to undermine you by going after your clients, they discover that stealing your client means the client loses value they can't replace elsewhere. The client doesn't leave because leaving is too costly, not because you fought to keep them, because you structured the relationship to make departure expensive. Or in reputation warfare, someone attacks your character, but you've positioned yourself so that their attack requires them to also attack people they need to maintain relationships with. Your reputation is entangled with people they can't afford to antagonize, so attacking you means attacking a coalition, not an individual. And coalitions are dangerous to challenge. The attacker realizes that to damage you, they'd have to damage others who have resources to retaliate. So they back off. Not because you fought them, because you positioned yourself inside a network where attacking you triggers automatic retaliation from multiple sources. This is creating defensive architecture. This is making yourself a poisonous target. This is positioning so that aggression against you is suicidal for the aggressor, and you never have to fight. The structure fights for you. The system you've built executes the defense automatically. You just positioned yourself strategically and let consequences handle the rest. That's the forgotten law. That's defeating enemies without fighting. Now let me show you what happens when you actually implement this. When you stop fighting every battle and start positioning strategically. First, some enemies will still try to provoke you. They're used to you being reactive. They expect a fight. And when you don't give them one, they escalate. They make bigger accusations, louder challenges, more desperate attempts to get you to engage. Don't let them escalate, because escalation without response makes them look unhinged. Every attack that you don't acknowledge makes them look more desperate, and desperation is weakness wearing a mask of aggression. Second, you'll feel the discomfort of not defending yourself. Your ego will want to fight back. Your instinct will be to prove yourself. Your conditioning will say that silence equals weakness. Ignore it. That discomfort is your reactive programming trying to control you. Strategic silence isn't weakness, it's discipline. It's choosing long-term victory over short-term ego satisfaction. It's recognizing that the fight you don't enter is often the fight you've already won. Third, observers will judge you. Some will think you're weak for not fighting. Some will think you're afraid. Some will misinterpret your strategic silence as inability to respond. Let them. The people who matter, the people who understand power, will see what you're doing. They'll recognize strategic positioning. They'll respect the discipline it takes to not engage. And the people who don't understand, they were never going to be allies anyway. Their opinion is irrelevant. Fourth, enemies will defeat themselves. Give them time. Give them space. Give them enough rope. Most people who attack do so from positions of weakness, and weakness can't sustain aggression. They'll burn themselves out attacking a target that doesn't engage. They'll make mistakes in their desperation to get a reaction. They'll reveal their true nature to everyone watching, and you won't have to do anything. Just maintain your position. Just keep producing results. Just let reality contradict their words, and reality wins every time. Fifth, you'll accumulate power quietly. While everyone else is fighting visible battles, you're building invisible infrastructure, strategic relationships, valuable positioning, defensive architecture, networks that protect you without you having to fight. And this accumulation is how you achieve dominance. Not through winning fights, through making fights unnecessary. Not through defeating enemies, through positioning so that challenging you guarantees the challenger's destruction, not through visible strength, through invisible preparation that makes you unassailable. This is the forgotten law. This is what Machiavelli understood. This is what separates reactive fighters who are perpetually at war from strategic dominators who achieve victory without combat. You don't defeat enemies by fighting them. You defeat them by positioning yourself so that fighting you is suicidal, or by letting them destroy themselves, or by rendering them irrelevant, or by creating conditions where their aggression automatically harms them more than it harms you. Machiavelli wrote, "Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception." But deception here doesn't mean lying. It means strategic maneuvering. It means psychological warfare. It means positioning. It means creating appearances and conditions that make your enemies defeat themselves. That's the highest form of power. That's victory without warfare. That's the forgotten law. The fight you win without fighting is the only fight that doesn't create 10 more enemies. The enemy you defeat without combat is the enemy who stays defeated because they never learned your methods. The victory you achieve invisibly is the victory no one can study and replicate. This is how you accumulate power. This is how you achieve dominance. This is how you win. If you're ready to stop exhausting yourself in perpetual combat and start positioning for invisible victory, subscribe and turn on notifications. This channel is for people who understand that the greatest battles are won before they're fought. Drop a comment telling me which principle you're implementing first. Share this with someone who's still fighting every battle directly and wondering why they're exhausted, but their enemies keep multiplying. Because the world needs fewer reactive fighters and more strategic dominators who understand that defeating enemies without fighting isn't weakness, it's the apex of power. Machiavelli knew it 500 years ago, and you know it now. The forgotten law. Defeat your enemies without fighting. Position yourself strategically. Let them destroy themselves. Render them irrelevant. Make attacking you too costly. Control narratives through demonstration, not defense. Use time as a weapon. Create dilemmas where aggression guarantees self-harm. And watch as every threat collapses without you ever entering the arena. This is power. This is strategy. This is the game everyone's playing while thinking they're fighting. Learn it, master it, and never waste energy on visible combat when invisible victory is available. Because the moment you stop fighting is the moment you start winning, and winning without fighting is the only victory that lasts.